I have to fully explain myself, or else people would just cancel me on the spot.
Yeah.
That's why I want everyone, like, if anyone's listening to this, like, listen to every fucking word that I say, because it's like, you can't just determine me as, oh, David's not a feminist, therefore he's a bad person. No. It's not how it works. There are statistics in Scandinavia that even with child parenting, like child parenting, like equal child parenting, that women still prefer to stay at home, right?
And I think that makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint as well.
Exactly.
Because
welcome everyone to episode 8 of the podcast, the Zero Filter podcast with Isaac and myself. So today we're going to go a little bit into something that's a little more kind of, what's the word?
controversial.
Controversial. Okay. And then we're gonna talk a little about feminism and our views on feminism, and what we think, like progressive feminism has turned into in terms of like third wave feminism. You know, like with first wave feminism, and then of like voting and stuff, and then second wave feminism of like abortion and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and like people in power and representation, and then third wave feminism, which is a little more kind of exactly like chivalry and stuff like that. So, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Okay. So feminism has always been a hot button topic, right? You know that there are certain topics you don't talk about at the dinner table. You don't talk about like breaking up with your girlfriend. You don't talk about the time you messed up at work, and you don't talk about feminism. It's one of those taboo topics.
Yeah.
Which people are afraid of talking about, which is strange, right? Because if you look at what feminism means, and if you do like the kind of really facile Google search, it just means a belief that men and women are equal and have equal moral worth, which I think the vast majority of human beings on the planet agrees with. I don't think.
Vast majority of people agree with the definition, or?
Well, no, not with the definition of feminism, but with what they say the definition is. So the idea that men and women are of equal moral worth.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority, right? The vast majority. I think people who don't believe that men and women have equal moral worth, honestly, like you can do
one, yeah.
Yeah. But here's the debate, right? How does that translate into policy, and what does that mean for the kind of society's future? Does that mean we have to have kind of do we need government intervention to close the so-called gender pay gap? Does it mean that we have to mandate 50% of people on company boards, do they have to be women? Those are the kind of debates that we're talking about. We're talking about things like attitudes towards the sexes. We're talking about gender pronouns. We're talking about something which touches on every part of our lives, right? In business, at work, at home, even our relationships. And all of those things are affected by feminism, which I think is quite crazy. So, look, Dave, what do you think about feminism?
I think it's like this overarching pressure of like... Okay, I think feminism is, in terms of the first and second wave, is a great thing.
I want to kind of like nail down your colours to a mast. So, look, we all agree that men and women have equal moral worth.
100%, yeah.
But what type of feminist would you be if we accept that definition of feminism?
Yeah, would I be against?
No. Of course you'd be for men and women having equal worth.
Yeah, 100%.
But what does that mean? If you say to your friends or family, "Oh, I'm a feminist," what does that mean for you?
Okay, if I said I was a feminist, which, okay, in my opinion, I don't think it's difficult for me to just completely say I am a feminist, because
that's not the actual meaning. It's not the actual meaning.
And please don't cancel me before you just turn off and be like, David is an asshole. Why are you not a feminist? Okay, it's not because I'm like, okay, yeah. I disagree with some of what feminism says, right?
Can you define feminism?
It's okay
first?
to disagree. Okay.
Feminism as you understand it today. Don't talk about first and second wave yet. Yeah. Talk about feminism as most people understand it today.
Feminism as I understand it today is a little too toxic in terms of the way they kind of cancel people, and the way they think like, oh, for example, chivalry is bad because it gives a power dynamic, and it gives an indication that men and women men have a greater power and have like save the damsel in distress, right? Another thing would be, I don't like the hypocrisy that some feminists have. Okay, yeah, we should have equal representation in jobs. So on a date, why don't we Dutch split? And they don't want to Dutch split. You know why?
They don't want to pay, man.
Because they don't want to pay, exactly. And what a majority of women say, oh, I'm not going to pay on a date. You mad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes no sense if we're getting paid equally, right, supposedly. Because before, like, the whole idea of, like, dropping the handkerchief and then, like, going on a date and then the man paying is because of the gender pay gap. Now that we've somewhat eliminated, and I agree, we haven't completely eliminated the gender pay gap yet. Now that we've somewhat closed that gender pay gap, why can't we close the fact that why can't we just do a Dutch split instead, right?
Okay, sure.
Or at least pay for the chocolate cake. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
As a minimum, as a show of effort, right? By the way, guys, if the girl doesn't if the girl doesn't even offer to pay, I don't think she can ever date.
I think my kind of rule is that guys should pay for the first date, but the test is, does she offer to pay?
Does she offer to pay? Yeah,
exactly. I think that makes all the difference, because if she's like, oh, come on, like, let's split it, like, I had such a great time, and then
exactly,
that shows character. But if she just kind of sits back and she's like, oh, I'm so hot, and I'm gonna, like, post on Instagram and, like, debate and, like, post
oh,
to my girlfriends,
free
like,
meals and everything. Like, if you just pay for a girl's drink at a bar, you are. What do I say?
Are you looking for the word simp or some of its
derivatives? You are a simp, basically. Yeah. Like, don't do that. I'm sorry. Like, yes.
But let's step away from dating and look at society in general, right? Because look, women always complain about how they get all the top executive positions are filled by men, or the top kind of boss positions.
But here's my problem with it, right? Okay, can I? I'll just
go on, interject.
And I don't want to sound like a man and be like, oh, like he's a dude and he, like, you don't understand, men, like, women work really, really hard too. Yes, women work really fucking hard too, 100% agree. But there's something called childbirth that comes into play at some point. There is a statistic done, right? There's this I watched this YouTube video recently, not recently, but like a long time ago. And they showed the progression of law students that came out of the same college. Like, it's really prestigious. I think it's like...
It's a Yale, Columbia.
Yeah, something like Yale,
that.
Columbia.
Yeah, okay,
exactly.
sure.
They came out. That one professor, they came out. Men and women are, like, rising together.
Yeah.
And then once they hit their 30s, what happens?
Oh, women levels off.
The women levels off. And then men are demanded more at work, so they work harder. They work longer hours. And because women, naturally... And I'm saying naturally because biologically it is true. They want to stay home with their kids and take care of the kids, right?
And that's a good thing. We should be encouraging that. I mean, society should be making that possible.
And I'm not saying that's like, that shouldn't be a man's role, because society has...
I'm not saying women should,
has somewhat trained our society for a man to be the caregiver of a family. Yes, 100%. But what kind of girl would not want a man as a caregiver? I'm sorry. Like, you don't just go into a marriage being like, oh, my boy broke, so that's okay. No, that's not going to happen.
And it's really interesting, because I was looking at this thing. I forgot where the article came from.
Let me finish, right? And then they level off. And then
sure.
They get promotion after promotion after promotion. And the woman is stuck with this rock, because she's constantly battling between taking care of the kids and also doing her job, right? And she will never really progress as far as what the man does. And guess what? The man ends up in his executive position when he's 40 or 50 years old. And for me, it's a show of progression. It's a show of, like, what life usually is. And I don't want to discourage, like, women, because women can get those executive jobs 110%, right? It's just like a factor of, in some sense, biology, right? There is child parenting that has been done in Scandinavia, and I don't want, and sometimes you discredit Scandinavian statistics, right? But there are statistics in Scandinavia that even with child parenting, like dual like child parenting, like equal child parenting, that women still prefer to stay at home, right?
And I think that makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint as well.
Exactly.
Because look, if
men are,
because there's this drive in, and I'm not saying this to justify inequalities, but what I am saying is that there are objective and clear, distinguishable qualities between the average man and the average woman, which leads them to take different choices. I don't think that should be debated, even though that seems like such a controversial thing to say.
Exactly.
But it's not. Look, men have. I don't know if you felt this, because I've certainly felt this. Like, if you're a man and if you're unable to protect or to provide for your family or the people you love, like, you feel a deep sense of shame. Like, obviously, women want to be able to protect and provide for their families as well. But men, like, if they fail on either of those two fronts, like, they feel it. They feel it in their bones.
Men have that massive amount of pressure to succeed.
Yeah, to succeed.
Right. Like,
to be competent.
To at least provide for their family, right?
Yeah.
And both of us feel that pressure, right? Whereas
we don't even have families, and we're already feeling it.
Exactly,
like, which is crazy.
And then you see some like other. Oh my god, I remember some NYU friends. They're like,
oh, go do spill.
Oh,
do spill.
Okay, this is one person, female, obviously.
Okay. We'll call her
She's
X. We'll call her X. Just pseudonym.
Person.
Yeah, it's
okay.
a person.
She's like, oh, I don't have to be rich. I'll just marry a doctor. That, you know what I'm saying? So,
And look, I'm not blaming her for saying that, because that's what's been happening for literally millennia, right?
Yeah.
Like, women want, like, I would say not all women, but many women want to be in a stable pairing with high status.
Exactly, but
high
what
providing
kind
men.
what's kind of, okay, if you want to reverse the roles a little bit, right? What kind of women would go for a broke-ass man
Who has no ambition.
has no ambition, and it just looks cute?
Zero. I mean, maybe in when they're 16.
Or actually,
but
you know what's even worse? What kind of but she's a great he has a great he has a great personality. Oh my god, I love him, but he's broke, but it's okay because I can take care of him. Would any woman dig for that? I'm sorry, no. Come on. It even sounds weird to me trying to like reverse say it.
Look, I mean, there's 7 billion people, and I'm sure there are 2 people who are like that. But for the rest of the 7 billion, nah.
No, come on, like, honestly, like, it doesn't work that way, in my opinion. And also, like, yes, both men and women have to be competent in a kind of, like, a work context. But in certain it's like men or women are biologically different.
They're hardwired to be different.
Hardwired.
I was
men
reading...
and women are people who, like, clean the homes and do all that kind of stuff. And it's true. It does. Statistically and biologically, it is very factually correct.
Neither of us are saying that the government should force women to stay at home, look after children, cook
absolutely
meals.
Not, absolutely not.
No chance of that happening.
But statistically, we've just seen that being the
But
the
people
case.
behave in
it's
different
an
ways.
observation,
Yeah.
not it's more of an observation.
It's not a policy prescription. We're just
Exactly.
describing what's happening.
Yeah.
I was reading this really interesting book called The Moral Animal by Robert Wright. You guys can check it out. I'm pretty sure it's free online now. And basically, Wright argues that men and women, if you look at their behaviors and what they look for in a relationship, they're fundamentally like different species, almost. Because we're like, men and women go into a relationship looking for such different things. And for modern day feminists to say, there's an inequality, I think they need to take into account just the kind of different human natures of men and women. Because when feminists say that the top, like, 99 out of 100 executives are men, they also ignore the fact that 99 out of 100 coal miners, right, like sewage workers, are also men. Men dominate the top 1%, but they also sure as hell dominate the bottom 10%.
Yeah, and they also do all the work that and they also do all the work that women don't want to do. For example,
men are more likely to commit suicide once they hit a certain age.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, okay, all the hard labor jobs that you do on the street and stuff, like cleaning, and women do this too.
Women do this too, but if you're going to a construction site, what are the chances you see a woman with a sledgehammer just going at it on like concrete?
Yeah.
Nearly zero.
Like, for me, like, if you want to be a true feminist, then equal everything, not just executives, shit that people don't matter about. You know what I mean? Like
I just want to ask for clarification. So do you mean you want feminists to encourage women to go into construction?
Yeah, encourage women to go into country. Okay, we have a problem with, like, DPing. DPing is a director of photography, aka cinematography.
Are you talking from your NYU film experience?
Film. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
People who want to operate camera, and I'm not saying from I'm not saying from like NYU experience, but like from an industry standpoint.
Industry, okay.
Most women don't want to go to be a camera operator or be a director of photography
I mean, it's tough physical work.
because it's tough physical work. It's like holding a camera for that long, and all that stuff is difficult. They'd rather be directors, artistic directors, or set designers, or writers, producers, all that kind of stuff. But they don't prefer to be
Yeah.
a DP because it's manual labor,
Mm.
and biologically, men have 50% more muscle than women.
And also confrontational roles, right? So let's take, for example, like mixed martial arts. Like there are women in mixed martial arts who can like
But
hand
fuck-
our butts to us,
But
right?
fuck, we see the whole fucking gym is full of guys. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it makes no sense.
No, I mean the women there are like really sick. Like they can like destroy me like
yeah,
pretty
they're,
much instantly.
yeah, they're little.
But they're a minority. Like
they're minorities.
that, it's like 9 guys to 1 girl.
Most
It's
women
not-
like shopping. I fucking hate shopping. Not gonna lie.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Okay, some
But-
dudes like shopping,
But
but
a
like,
hell of a lot of women do like shopping.
they a hell of enjoy shopping. Like
It's so fucking boring though, don't you think? It's like when you with a girl and then you're just like, oh, can we have like a nice time? Don't just
you sat there holding her handbag.
it's like
Ah, the top mayor.
are you so
Okay, anyways,
it's like
continue.
it's like, oh, do you want to like go for a walk or you know have a good chat? It's like, no, I want to like shop for clothes. Oh shit. It's not like, look, I understand
You've been
why.
on a date yet, right?
Well, just to clarify, like low key, like it has happened before, and it's so fucking boring.
Yeah.
It is so boring,
You
and
just sit there.
I just want to say, dude, like, I've got shit to do, and then I see 1 hour slip by, and I'm like, okay, fair enough, like free time for
Oh my
free
god.
time,
Okay.
and then 2 hours, and then 3 hours.
I have
and
this analogy, right? My old opera teacher from when I was 10, 11 years old.
Oh yeah, I remember you in the opera. You were like the
Yeah.
what was it? The Oberon thingy, the
Yeah.
Midsummer Night.
Midsummer Night's Dream, I was a fairy.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my opera teacher at that time, my trainer, he was like, so guys, here's some advice for you. You know, when you're a guy, you walk into a store. So I walk into a store. I take 5 minutes to bear. I tell my wife, I'm gonna buy a pair of socks.
Ah, yeah. Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
And
Yeah.
in 5 minutes, I'm out with a pair of socks. You tell a woman, my wife, to go in to buy a pair of socks. Comes out 5 hours later with 95 different pairs of socks.
And not just socks, man. Like kitchen utensils and dresses.
Other shit that doesn't really matter.
Because here's what goes through my mind when I'm going to shopping. Like, there's some shit which I urgently need and which I need to buy. I've already compared the prices online and worked out which shop is closest to my home and which shop offers the best value for money. And then I go in the shop, I go find the thing, I take it away, I pay for it, and I leave. Like that's how my mind operates. It's like it's A to B.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, women and girls, I mean,
Like to
they operate
browse.
differently.
They like to browse, and that's not like a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. I mean, they want the full experience, man, and
Yeah.
which is fair enough.
We just
But-
wanna 7-Eleven, get it over and done with. You know, like give me my thing and let me get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here. Which is a completely different thing. And also on the side note, why do men get paid more than women in a sporting standpoint?
Well, because they are just physically capable of higher absolutes than women. They're more the average man, the average male athlete compared to the average female
But I
athlete.
will say this: in gymnastics, that's not true.
Okay, gymnastics, I think is the anomaly because women are much more flexible than men because of like bone structure and something. I'm not a biologist, but
Exactly.
But look, if we're talking about football, if we're talking about rugby, if we're talking about mixed martial arts or boxing, dude, I mean, men are just objectively more explosive, more powerful, and have greater endurance than women.
Some people argue that. I'll play devil's advocate. Some people argue
go for
that football, in terms of, even though it's not as powerful, it's more skill based, and people enjoy watching that.
But my problem is, do people enjoy watching that though?
Do people enjoy exactly?
Because okay,
It's a supply and demand issue.
I don't watch football, but the people I know who do watch football, who did they watch? Real Madrid, Barcelona, all men, and then it's like, oh, what about women's football? Have you heard of this person? Well, what are you talking about?
Like I watch a little bit of women's football sometimes. We know the U.S. women's national team asking for equal pay. There isn't money there.
And look, for example, like a female boxer, for example, because men fight 3-minute rounds in boxing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women only fight 2. And so to say that women should be paid equally to men when they offer just less fighting time, again, just doesn't seem to make much sense.
And also people want to see their sport played at the highest level.
Yeah.
And men offer that.
Yeah.
And I will say that although you can say it's women, so it's a different category, then you should expect it to pay in a different category.
But let's talk about weight classes. For example.
Because I would say that if you want to be paid as much as men, then go fight men.
Dude, okay, but then the thing is, they're gonna get beaten up.
Well,
like,
exactly.
Like, I'm not even being sexist, but do you see what happened on like the MMA community when a woman who was a man but she transitioned into being a woman, like, dude, she destroyed her division. Like, she cracked skulls, man.
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen like what was it? The Australian national team against the Newcastle Jets, like the under 15s Newcastle Jets team under 15s beat the Australian.
Oh yeah, they beat the national team.
Yeah. Women's national team.
We're just talking about different levels.
That's a freaking disgrace.
And
let alone a freaking travesty.
Fundamentally, I think the average man is more competitive than the average woman. Like, by competitive, I don't mean like
mentally
looks and stuff. I mean like the kind of desire to reach the pinnacle of your profession, to be the best at what you're doing.
Okay, I can argue against that. No. I don't think so.
No. I'm not arguing.
There are girls in acting who really fucking want their shit. Like,
no. I'm not talking about acting. I'm talking about sports. Like, purely sports.
But you can't argue that some. Okay, for example, Serena Williams.
There are some exceptions, and there are some industries which prove to be exceptions. I'm not arguing with you on that. I'm talking about if you take professional sports or the average corporate hierarchy.
Yeah.
Sure, like, I think there are much more women now because the playing field has been leveled to a great extent, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's good that women are bringing more and more to the table, but at the same time, it's still dominated by men. And I would argue that this is in large part due to fundamental biological differences.
100. I agree. And maybe I just think that, sometimes it's unfair. But at the same time, we have to accept who we are as human beings and be like, okay, this is how we move forward, and not just be like, these are just social. Because I feel like a lot of feminists, like, okay, I agree with first wave feminism, second wave feminism, but I feel like a lot of women who are third wave feminists feel like they don't have the opportunities that men have, in terms of the fact that they just have to accept it, and they don't want to accept it. Right, and I completely get that, right?
Yeah.
I feel like in terms of an empathetical standpoint, right? Like, we can't just ramble on and say all this stuff about like why you should just accept it. I should be like,
get after it.
But get after it at the same time as like you have to in my opinion, I'm not saying like you shouldn't have kids and all that kind of stuff, but you need to be prepared. Like, if you want to reach the same heights, you need to do the same things, and that might mean making sacrifices you are not prepared to make. Exactly. And you have to, if you want to embody a life of a feminist, you have to embody all of it. So I mean, embodying the fact that women should be in construction work, encouraging boys to get into nursing school, encouraging more women to get into coding, encouraging more women to get into editing, encouraging more women to get into all these different fields that are even less desirable, because men do all that kind of stuff, because men do that stuff to provide, right? And out of necessity, right? And it is talked too little about, because it is only cared about if it's the top job. When you talk about stuff that doesn't really matter, right? Then just everyone just shrimps out, and it can't be like that. Like, why do feminists never talk about like the
what's like suicide and depression?
No, not necessarily. I mean like the disparate, like the representation in like lower like the bottom of the pyramid. Never talk about it. They don't care. They only care about women at the top.
Yeah.
And that's what I disagree with. It should be an overall change, rather than I just want more girls to be in higher positions.
That voice though.
And that's
Great.
it.
Okay.
And that shouldn't be okay. It should be, I want society to change as a whole, not just in higher level positions, but in all positions and in all industries. Right? In the army, I want women to be in the army. I want women to be
Well, do you think women should be
coding.
in the army if they can't pass the same physical tests as men? Because, look, if I was a soldier, I wouldn't want someone who wasn't physically up to par. Not because I don't value
I would
their
say
presence,
in terms of a
but-
physical thing, it's biological. So I think
Yeah.
they should have a separate test. But at the same time,
But if they have a separate test, but bullets don't distinguish between muscle mass, man.
yeah.
So, on the front lines, do you want, this is a debate, right? Do you want women on the front lines? Because look, if I'm the enemy and I was trying to kill you, I don't give a shit if you're a man or a woman. Like, I'm trying to take you out. And what people are worried about is that it would destroy the operation.
I think the fact that okay, in World War I, World War II, there's a lot of women that hung around because like a lot of men died from the war, and they started getting into jobs that men would used to have, right? And they started getting this kind of level of like
they have the greater education, more skills, etc. Which is good,
but
which is a good thing.
And as a result, they wanted to kind of be like, oh, I want to advance, but we can't get past being a secretary or like someone who's like who just like types. So they fought and well deserved. At the same time, you have to understand that like to a certain extent, it stemmed from the fact that men were deceased, right? In terms of, it stemmed from the fact that a lot of like, you never acknowledges the fact that like, okay, men have fought in wars so that you can be here and you can enjoy your bit of job. Imagine if women started fighting on the front lines.
I don't think we should be complaining about that, because I do think it is a man's duty when the community needs him to step up and protect his family and his neighbours. But I think I'm not complaining about that part. I think that's absolutely what a man should be doing. But
it's not as easy as saying just reverse gender roles and it's okay. Like it's not that easy.
I'm not. So look, saying instead of sending men out to the front line, we'll send women out. Haha, see how we like it. We're not saying that. But what we are saying is that look, men and women sacrifice in different capacities.
Yeah.
And
men could never do what a woman does in terms of
like childbirth. I mean, fuck it. I wouldn't be able to last 2 minutes.
100%.
But men and women, they contribute in different ways and they sacrifice in different ways. And the problem with modern day third wave or even fourth wave feminism is that they only see one side of the coin, and they are in many ways contributing to that kind of culture of and I use air quotes like toxic masculinity, right? Like scare quotes, but they are contributing to that as well, because when a man loses to a woman, it's like, oh, a woman beat your ass, you go girl, and you're shaming the man essentially for losing to a woman, which in turn implicitly assumes that men are better than women in the first place.
If you play that in reverse, a man beats a woman, it's like, how dare you beat a woman?
It's a no-win situation. If you beat a woman, if the average man does what an average man is supposed to do and beats up the average woman in like a physical confrontation, imagine
if I went on the street and beat up.
It's like you're wailing on like a little kid. Like, it's just not okay.
Yeah.
But if you lose, you're humiliated because you're a pussy. You're an effeminate pussy who can't do anything.
Yeah, you're not a man.
Yeah, you're not a man. Like you're basically like castrated. You're a eunuch.
Yeah.
And that double standard just. And then feminists turn around and they say, "Oh, why are so many men angry?" I mean, dude, look in front of you, like. You're seeing.
Oh, and then they shit on male advocacy. That's my problem as well.
I talk about men rights activism.
Men rights advocacy.
I don't know that much about
men rights advocates, right?
Yeah, tell me more.
There's like a bunch of like feminists, really hardcore feminists, like at rallies, at male like rights advocates, be like, "You have enough rights. Why the fuck do you need more rights?" So talking about men's rights activism, I think all they want is some, like. They acknowledge they like the level playing field, right? And I've done some research into it. They like the level playing field. They just want to acknowledge the fact that men grow through the same problems as women. And also, there's a biological difference, a fundamental biological difference between men and women, right? And you just cannot just change gender roles overnight. It just doesn't work, right? And
are you afraid of being cancelled? Because that could be seen as
110%. I'm so scared of being cancelled because, like, some people disagree with me and they would just say no, David. Fuck off.
I would never talk about this
But my thing is like, I have to fully explain myself or else people will just cancel me on the spot.
Yeah.
That's why I want everyone, like, if anyone's listening to this, like, listen to every fucking word that I say, because it's like, you can't just determine me as, oh, David's not a feminist, therefore he's a bad person. No. It's not how it works, right? I think they both, like, men and women want to be equal. They should be treated equal 110%.
And they are morally equal,
and that's
yeah.
what men's right activism is, right? But they also want men, like, the women, to acknowledge that men suffer illnesses like depression, isolationism, and, you know, problems with like
Suicide, drugs,
all like different things that women on a different capacity go through, right?
Look, men, and it's not just this. It's not even the question of the same problems. It's that men and women can suffer very differently.
Yeah.
Because what is really painful for a woman is just like meh to a man, and vice versa. It's like, look, if a man feels like he is the worst in a group setting, like the worst at like doing shit, like the least competent dude, that he feels it, he knows.
Yeah.
It's like women will be upset. I'm not saying that women won't be upset, but a man, he know, because somewhere in his kind of like primitive like lizard or like ape monkey mind, he's thinking, because I'm the worst, I will be kicked out of the tribe because I can't hunt, I can't provide for women, I can't get food on the table, therefore they'll kick me out because I'm an extra mouth to feed. I'll be left to die in the wilderness. And that's how it was thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of intractable genetic differences between men, or not, they're genetic, but also like hormonal differences between men and women. It's just, it's the same species, but it's like we have two subspecies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really just hard to just, that's why I think it's really difficult to just be like, you guys just switch genders, it's okay. Man take care of a baby, I take care of women.
It's like,
acknowledge the fact that like we're all equal, but in turn third-racism has made it unequal. And that's what I have a problem with, right?
And there's a reason why family structures have been that way for hundreds of years. Like if it's unnatural, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I wouldn't have just like settled into place, right? Like my thing is like, it should be to a certain degree, right? At a certain point, I feel like men and women should both acknowledge their differences, and when we start acknowledging each other's differences, then we can come to a compromise and understand what, and talk about and bring both men and women onto a table, and not just argue about stuff, but
work out solutions.
Acknowledge each other's flaws, and not just cancel each other because he's a man or a woman, and then, you know, guys always will simp out. Some guys are fucking like simping 9,000, right? Fucking like.
You see them crawling on like
fucking like
social media.
I want pussy, and that's it, right? Pussy aside.
Like,
right.
Pussy's great, but principles are better.
Principles are better, 100%. Different peas. Okay. Like, stop simping, and acknowledge the fact that you're different as a man, right? And when you start talking with like, and have these differences between men and women, then you really will have a true, like, overview of what men go through, what women go through, what men are good at, what women are good at, and that's what fundamentally has always worked.
And I'll say to male listeners, as well as a reminder for the both of us in the future when we look back on this, is that as men we've got specific and unique responsibilities which women don't have, in the same way that women have unique and specific responsibilities that men don't have. And
we're special in our different ways, and we cannot just merge like that.
We are of moral equal. We are morally equal with women.
Yeah.
But we are also unique. All women are different to men, and men are different to women. And we're that equality. That I think anyone who thinks that
just like I'm different from you, and you are different from
anyone who thinks that men are worth more than women, or vice versa,
are stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, for example, in China, when they were doing the One China policy, it's like they aborted all the girls because of the patriarchal view of
not even that, just like the surname, like they won't carry the surname.
So I think that's crazy. I'm completely 100% against that. But look,
and like feet binding and stuff like
disgusting. That's just morally wrong. But as men, right? If you're listening to this, and as a reminder to myself and to the both of us, like, your job is to lead and to protect the tribe, right? for thousands of years, like since like our common ancestors with
What do you say?
gorillas
What,
and
wait,
apes.
what do you say to people who are like, oh, it's been thousands of years. Why can't we make a change?
Our genes are the same. Like fundamentally, our genetics are no different to the humans 10,000, 15,000 years ago. Like men, they're in charge of finding wood for the fire. They're in charge of like bringing down like the beast of prey so that the women and children can eat first, right?
Yeah.
And when the enemy tribe kind of invades, it's people like us who have a responsibility to step into the front lines. We're not pushing women and children to the front lines. Like, dude, there's 0% chance of that happening.
Yeah.
Like, and that is what.
It would be a catastrophe.
Yeah, and it'll just be like wrong. It'll just be wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why when we say we're against feminism, we're against modern day feminism, not against the idea that men and women are equally important.
That's why I stand with the word equality rather than I stand with the word feminism.
That and yeah, exactly.
I believe in equality. I don't believe in feminism.
When people ask me, they don't really ask me about it because I try not to talk about it because it's controversial. But if people,
you might get cancelled.
But if people say, "Are you a feminist?" I'll say, "I think men and women are equal, but I wouldn't call myself a feminist." Yeah. And that's what I'll say.
Same with me.
Yeah, and I think that is that a good way to end the podcast?
I think that's a great way to end the podcast. Yeah. So please don't cancel us. Yeah. You know, this show cannot be cancelled. You know, but that's what we believe in. And if you have any comments,
yeah, I guess we should kind of quote Martin Luther. Here I stand, I can do no other. You know, yeah. Because look, we know a lot of folks out there will disagree with us. We hope you'll give us kind of constructive criticism
and
about what we disagree with.
Just understand with an empathetical side.
No, we're open to different arguments.
Exactly.
If you've got kind of solid evidence or solid analysis about why we're wrong, you know, let us know. But if you're just screeching for, you know,
because you want representation,
it's like, oh, you guys are just misogynistic assholes who need to die.
Yeah. No. We're not misogynistic assholes at all. But we do have a point in what we say, and that's what I think is important. And so on that note, if you guys liked the really deep discussion we had in episode 8 of the Zero Filter podcast, please give it a.
I mean, it wasn't that deep. Like we covered a few bases.
We covered a few bases, but like of the Zero Filter podcast, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, peace.